Nata Edwards joins us on a Friday to talk about the latest Kevin O'Conman mock draft. That's right, is VJ Edgecombe just simply a lock at number 4. Then we rummage through the Sicko Satchel. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com, and then his other podcast, Locked On NBA with Matt Moore and Hayes. And we're not done, folks. We got Nata Edwards in the house on a Friday, baby. We're partying going into the weekend.
Absolutely.
Nata Edwards joins us from the Ion College Basketball Podcast with Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish. Nata, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry I missed the trade day conversation yesterday. It looked like a very lively discussion, but then again, we get to talk about a Kevin O'Connor mock, so it might have worked in my favor.
Golf clap for the title from one Doug Branson. How about Doug going with the hip hop reference with the title?
Yes.
You know.
Wait, what do you mean?
I love it.
What did I do?
We're rubbing off on him, Walker, finally.
What are you doing? What are you talking about? Yeah, we talked about Trey Johnson. It's funny, right? Because here we are with the episode yesterday asking if we all just forgot about Trey Johnson. And then today we see the bullet point, is VJ Edgecombe just a lock at number 4? And how many ways are we going to talk about VJ being a lock at 4 from now until we get to the draft, which isn't quite a month away, but we still have a long way to go. The reason I ask this, not only does every mock draft tell you that VJ Edgecombe is going to go to Charlotte, but the latest one from our guy, who very much is not our guy with the nickname that we gave him, but Kevin O'Conman of Yahoo Sports released a mock draft, and this is what he had to say. At number 4, he has, VJ Edgecombe going to Charlotte. He said VJ Edgecombe had an excellent interview with the Charlotte Hornets, league sources say. And while there are no locks, he'll be the pick. Plenty of executives believe he's the favorite if he makes it to the 4th pick, end quote. I guess that's the question, Nata. Does that mean he is a lock? Like, if he's available, is it just simply, okay, everybody knows what's going to happen now that VJ Edgecombe is available at 4? Is it safe to call him a lock?
No, because I still think Philly, again, everyone projecting Philly to Ace and Philly together is absolutely off. When we consider the analytics and the analytics profile that Daryl Morey uses in Philly, there's a better chance that VJ Edgecombe is a Philly 76er. Like, there's that. And then on top of that, like we were talking before we started recording, like the defense for VJ, like it's a lot of projection. Go look at the Duke Baylor game where Cooper flagged. Like, they intentionally got the switch and Cooper went at him over and over again. Granted, it's a sign of respect, as some would say, but I would warn everybody, like, the defense is a projection. And also, I would also point out, this team is notoriously silent. I would think that it's possible, but at the same point, I wouldn't say lock it. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying lock.
What about you, Doug?
I think you know where I'm going to land on this. Of course, I don't believe Kevin O'Conman. That's how you get your pocket picked, is believing Conman. That's how you lose your life savings to someone promising crypto, fortunes for you. No, I'm not going to believe this. In fact, plenty of executives believe he's the favorite. There's only one executive that matters, and his name is Jeff Peterson. Does he believe that VJ Edgecombe is going to be the pick or not? And I'll say, honestly, if they've decided on May 30th that this is going to be the pick, then shame on them. Shame on them for going that early in the process. They've got plenty of interviews to do, plenty of people to look at, and plenty of trades to consider as well. No way is this thing a lock. That's crazy.
Yeah, so if you read this again carefully, league sources say that VJ had an excellent interview with Charlotte, but then other executives think he's going to be the pick.
You're not kidding me, important. Kevin. Not today. Not today, buddy.
Other executives think it. We think it. Well, I think he's going to be there, but that's something you brought up, Nata, because I was trying to phrase it in the terms of if VJ is available, is it safe to say that he's a lock? But you were going with Philly might just take him, which we've discussed a little bit, but I'm with you. I do think Philly has a great chance of just taking the Baylor guard. I think they've got a great shot of if they skip the Baylor guard, they might go after the Duke guard and just go select Con Knipple at number 3, which would be surprising. I don't think a shock. I don't think it would be like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. But it would be surprising. It would not be surprising if they just passed on Ace Bailey completely because of all the things that you just mentioned.
I do think that Con Knipple is in the conversation for 3, but I also think that they may just go again. VJ Edgecombe. I think Trey Johnson is still in play. I think they're like, if we're talking about that tier, we've talked about, again, me and you, we've all talked about this quite literally. Like Trey, VJ, and Ace are on the same tier in terms of talent and ability. The problem is shot profile is like the difference maker for Ace. I would say though, if that, like they're going to be fine at 4, but calling VJ as a lock does not feel right, especially when you consider that you still have to wait on maybe a San Antonio falling in love with him. Doubtful, but it may happen. You never know. Or a Philly that falls in love with him, and or Philly getting an offer from, I don't know, the Washington Wizards to move up to go get somebody in this tier, because as I've said before, this is a 3-tier talent pool, and the Washington Wizards are going to miss out on that tier.
What you got, Doug?
I was just scrolling through this mock. It's crazy, but that reaction was to Ryan Kalkbrenner going number 29 in this mock draft to the Suns, just out of reach of the Hornets' second-round pick. It looks like they've got them taking Bogo Markovic and Joan Behringer. What is it?
Tell him, Nata. Help him out.
Please let me know. You're the
Joan Behringer did work in
Soft J.
Yeah, Johan Behringer did a lot of work in the Adriatic League. Reminds me very much of a Tyson Chandler / Mitchell Robinson. He's gonna be a guy that's going to need a year in Greensboro. He's gonna need the Tejan plan that actually actualizes. He's gonna need a year, but the physical gifts there. He was dunking on dudes in the Adriatic League. 6'11", very, very coordinated. I think there's a chance that he could be a rotation center, and he could make Moussa Diabate job very, very, very untenable in about a year.
Well, listen, that's going to be disappointing to those that love Eric Collins' Moose play, but I trust Eric that he's going to do something with Johan for sure. Johan.
He's going to call him Joan of Arc. We already know that, right? We already know that that's going to some Joan of Arc reference is going to be made at some point.
Hey, so the Hornets in this mock draft pass up on Danny Wolf, who slips all the way to the 5th pick in the 2nd round, and that's lower than I've seen him. But he is slipping. What's going on there?
I think people are starting to see the limited athleticism. I would not put him, for me personally, I would draft him over Ryan Kalkbrenner. I don't see the love affair with Ryan Kalkbrenner. He can score. He's going to be able to do that, but I do worry he's going to be a traffic cone when it comes to NBA guards. And they're going to find him on an island, and they're going to pick on him repeatedly. If Danny Wolf is actually available in the 2nd, I would hope the Hornets would actually draft him and Behringer, because I think that would provide a nice little, provide a nice little front court for the next year, and very, very interesting in a whole lot of manners.
You just rained on my Kalkbrenner parade. We had a conversation about how I'm starting to be in on Kalkbrenner as a guy that's just. So we were going with draft hot takes, is what it was.
Yes.
And my draft hot take was that Kalkbrenner was the best drop coverage defender, defensive center in the draft.
But there was a reason for that, though. There was a reason he was in drop a lot.
But that's what most NBA defenses play. So that's including with the Hornets with Mark Williams too. And so I'm like, okay, that's why I'm just taking the chance. So I do kind of talk out of both sides out of my mouth with this one, because I do like mobile centers. I do, which is why I'm passing on Malawach at 4 or 5 or 6.
Yes.
But if you're in the early 30s and then you have a guy that is very good at drop coverage who actually tested a lot better athletically than Malawach did at the combine, surprisingly, because I know everybody says Kalkbrenner is slower than molasses, but he didn't test that way at the combine compared to the athletic guy. So if he's just he's bigger in a lot of respects and longer and then more athletic, I'm just going to take that guy in the early 30s. So I think I'm much more comfortable taking a bet on somebody like him in the early 30s than I am with Malawach in the top 10. And that was my hot take.
No. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Because again, I'm not a fan of Malawach either. Because despite the fact that he did poorly against Houston for obvious reasons, there were times where Patrick Ngongbo was the better center at Duke. And that's a guy that went back and probably could have gone out in this draft and gotten a top 35 promise if he really wanted to. But at the same point, like, I came away with a lot of games with Common Malawach where I was grossly underwhelmed. So I understand that take. I'm just not a fan of for at this point with this team and the amount of poor defenders that this team has. I'm not about to go get a center that can't move his feet laterally. You're going to need one of those guys to at least move his feet, again, be able to move his feet laterally, and on top of that, possibly defend the rim a little bit better.
All right. I've got some more questions about this mock draft because there are a lot of risers in this mock draft that I have questions about for Nata. So, Walker, I say we turn the wheel here. We talk about this LaMelo trade stuff. We got a great question in the Sicko Satchel. I talked about it on Locked On Kings. I say we save that for Monday, and we just really squeeze the Nata Edwards lime for all the draft juice that we can get in the second segment. And then just start, I don't think we'll finish, but we'll start our unrestricted free agent draft that we've been teasing all week. And Nata can be the commentator. He can grade our draft picks.
Okay,
perfect.
All right, there's the first part of the tease. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We squeeze Nata into a pulp. Coming up next and talk more about this mock draft. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more, use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. So here's the play. Again, sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 plus order and code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Let's go back to VJ for just a moment. We'll bring in Nata. I think Nata brought up a point I would imagine listeners want to hear more about. With the defense is more of a projection with VJ, because Doug, you and I have talked about that he's the best defensive player among the guys that you would be selecting there at number 4. And I think point of attack defense, I think it's good. Like, I do. I know that's kind of where people are struggling to see it a little bit more so in college when you go grind the tape. I still think it's good. Like, I think he's just really physical, which I love, by the way. I know sometimes you can foul, but honestly, on this team, I want a physical point of attack defender, and I'll just take the fouling because I don't think it comes from a terrible place. And then as he grows into a more disciplined defender, I'm cool with it. But really, like, man, this is somebody that just runs around like a free safety. And I don't want to say it's almost more Troy Polamalu than it is Ed Reed, where I would take both. But Troy Polamalu is willing to hit you and then go get the interception, where Ed Reed just does it with finesse and is maybe the best free safety of all time. I would say he is. But Polamalu just kind of runs around like a wild man, and he's not afraid of contact, and then he'll jar basketballs loose and then turn the defense into offense. And so he anticipates passing lanes, and he also just spoils lobs. Like, there's some tape of him where there are some lobs from guys that are trying to get over on him because they're taller than he is, but then the athleticism, he just leaps and then says, nope, we're not going to have this alley-oop today. I just think the defense there, while some of it is projected for sure, probably in like one-on-one scenarios when you're just straight up mano-a-mano, I feel you on that. But I know that you're talking about the projection with the athleticism, like that it probably does translate well. That's why I'm just cool on it. But talk to me a little bit more about the projection that you have, more so than I see it right here, right now.
First things first, I think you've just described Hornets DNA in about 90 seconds. I think that's exactly what you did. First things first is like, that's Hornets DNA. That's Terry Tate off his linebacker, much more than like quite literally much more than Troy Polamalu. But at the same point, like there are times where the defense is going to be like a projection. I do think you go back to that Duke Baylor game. You start looking at what they did, where they got Cooper on the switch. And that's the thing. Like when you're starting to be the target of the defense because physically you're not there yet, that's when I start saying, hey, it's a little bit more of a projection. This is much like I do believe that Scott Drew at Baylor is not playing you if you cannot guard your man to an adequate level. So I do think that he's going to come in and probably end up being a top 3 defender on the Hornets off the rip. Granted, that's a very low bar to clear.
Low bar. He's entered the low bar, and he's
welcome to
the low bar.
What's your drink of
VJ
choice, my man?
Edgecombe.
Welcome to the low bar.
Like that's the thing. It's a low bar to clear, but at the same point, like I do think lockdown point of attack defender off the rip, he's not going to be a Davion Mitchell. Like I do think we need to establish that right quick. But do I think that he's going to be probably a number 1 point of attack defender probably by the end of his rookie season? Most likely. I just don't think anyone expecting it out of the box is going to be very, very disappointed.
So I think Nata hits the nail on the head here. It's all about the physical profile. He's got the want to, he's got the intensity. I think he will represent Hornets DNA, and it doesn't surprise me. The one thing I do believe from this Kevin O'Conman report is that he had an excellent interview. And I've said that from the rip. Like, I thought he was going to go in there and nail the interview. And that may be the difference because I think that Jeff Peterson and company, they fell in love with Tijan Salon and his attitude and his want to, and they bet on that guy. And they might do the same thing for VJ Edgecombe. They might bet, hey, this frame will add strength. I mean, he's not going to he might not, well, I don't know. It seems like Wemby's getting taller somehow. Maybe he gets taller, but he's probably not going to get taller.
I saw that.
So, but he could get stronger, and that could make a big difference. I think the debate that we might start having on the show is less VJ Edgecombe versus Trey Johnson and more, do they trade down just a few spots and take a guy like Cedric Coward or Carter Bryant? If they want 3-and-D with actual physical profile, those players spec out a little bit more. Cedric Coward is rocketing up these mock drafts. He's at 9 in Kevin O'Connor's draft board here. Tell me about Coward and if we should start having the debate about the Hornets moving down to take one of these other 3-and-D prospects.
So to be fair, I will say this. I got this from Sam Vecini like a couple of months ago because thankfully the relationship that Sam has with the Eye on College Basketball podcast, you get kind of information. He's been screaming about Cedric Coward being a first rounder for the better part of a year.
Well, he lives in Australia, so he has to scream for us to hear him.
Very much so. Very much so. But what I would also say is I think 9 is way too high, especially for a guy that really didn't have he only played 6 games this year. I think he was going to establish. He's
perfect then. Great. He'll fit right in.
Exactly. There's that, but also I don't think that that's a low ceiling. That's a guy that you get with a second first round pick. That's not a guy that you're going to say this is the gem of our draft. Not a guy like that's not the guy. If you want to tell me that they trade back and they go get another first or 2 and they get Rasheer Fleming and maybe a Noah Asong, like if they did that, that makes more sense to me. But for the most part, I'm not trading off of this pick because I do think that the tiers are just so like the gap between a Cedric Coward and a VJ Edgecombe is so big that it's not actually worth it unless you're getting an established young star.
All right, so you bring up Cedric Coward. I think about him in a very specific way in terms of one comparison. I remember when we were talking about the Darius Garland draft, and that draft specifically was known, I forget who it was at the top, but it was known as like a 2-player draft or whatever it was. And then I remember Doug and I talking, getting ready for an episode, and I said, by the end of this is going to be a 3-person draft. People are going to go back, and they're going to realize Darius Garland was an absolute stud. And people were scared because he played a handful of games at Vanderbilt, and that was it. It might have been 4. Like it might have been less than Cedric Coward before he got injured. And so they don't profile the same as the type of player they're going to be, right? I'm not trying to make comparisons that way, but the comparison I'm making is, are people going to be scared to draft Coward?
No.
Because there weren't enough games to see of him? And if that's the case, how much is Coward going to make him pay? But there's a reason that Duke wanted him badly.
Yes, there is.
And this guy, I'm with you. Like I would be intrigued. It all depends on what
nine is
kind
too
of
high.
package.
Nine is just too. Like for me personally,
He looks good.
9 is entirely too high. You want to tell me he's around like 13, 14, 15, then draft him? Sure, but 9 feels way too high. Even though that does feel like a Masai Ujiri kind of pick at 9.
All right, final things on the in this segment with mock draft observations, Doug. What you got?
My final observations from when I was at the combine and I was doing interviews is that VJ Edgecombe definitely has that look in his eye. I can confirm that. And I didn't know much about Coward going in, and I saw him at the interview table, and I'm like, this dude is cut out of marble. I mean, that guy's like, his shoulders are like big rocks. It reminds me, he's like a mini version of Dwight Howard. I'm telling you, I'm a little scared of the Hornets passing up on an opportunity to get Coward somehow, because he looks good, and then the more that I watch him, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's something there, and people obviously love it. I think that VJ Edgecombe would be more ready-made from an experience level and a basketball IQ level, and I can put the ball in this guy's hands, and bad things are probably not going to happen. Like, I think that's going to be Coward's, like, he's got to figure that thing out. But yeah, I mean, Coward scares me a little bit. I'm scared of a Coward.
I would see that, like, look, like I'm much more okay with the idea of Coward possibly in the lottery or trading back for him. Like Carter Bryant,
you get extra stuff. That's the whole thing too. Like, if you believe that VJ Edgecombe can be a star, then you shouldn't pass up on him. But if you have questions about that, and you can build a little bit more extra value for next off season, then, you know, and particularly if you're going to keep LaMelo Ball, then I would say go VJ Edgecombe. But if you're going to move off of your star and you need another star, I don't know that VJ Edgecombe is going to be that. So it might be better in that scenario to move back and accumulate a few more assets.
I can see it for Coward. I can't see it for Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant, for me, did not do enough to where we're legitimately talking about this dude in the lottery. Like, he shot 40% from 3, yes, but it was on low volume. He was not the guy. He was not even the second guy on that team. There were a lot of other guys. He's the definition of low floor, again, low ceiling, kind of high floor. So if you want a guarantee a la Cedric Coward, where you know you're going to get, like, he might top out at Josh Green, I think, is where I stand with Carter Bryant. Coward, I can see him being more, but at the same point, I'm not taking that risk, because I do believe that the star gap, potential stars, 3, 4, 5 in this draft. Again, you're talking about 2 absolute stars in the first 2 picks. 3, 4, 5 is potential stars if you do it right. Everybody else is probably a role player in this draft.
Next week, you have to come on and tell me why Drake Powell is sitting at 12th in this mock draft. Don't tell me right now. Tease it. Save it.
I'm annoyed by that. I'm highly annoyed by that one.
We'll hear why next week. Tune in.
By the way, Doug just Uncle Phil'd Carter Bryant out of the running after you said he could top out at Josh Green. So he's gone now.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry. I wasn't even listening. I was preparing for the next segment. I'm sorry. I should have reacted. Yeah, the reason I didn't react to that violently is because I was preparing for the next segment. But yeah, I'm totally out.
Yeah, he's out on him. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
I forget already because we've changed so many times, but I think some Sicko Satchel stuff, maybe another mock draft, even though
I'll let
we've
you know.
already
Don't
gone
worry.
with another mock draft. Doug steers this ship probably into a ditch coming up next. Okay, I think we're going to go with an unrestricted free agent draft that we have in store, and this stems from a Sicko Satchel question, correct, Doug?
Yes, this is from the Sicko Satchel. If you want to participate in the Sicko Satchel, if you want to become a member of the Sicko Brigade, join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets. And from the Sicko Satchel, we have Bam Bam of the 21st Ricky Pierce Division, a.k.a. the Flying Big Paper Daddies. And Bam Bam asks this: pick the best 5 players from the 2025 summer unrestricted free agents which can take the floor together. The only rule is that they collectively sign for less than $20 million. Which ones would you target? Bonus question, which of these players should the Hornets actually target? So we'll take this in stages. I think we might get 1 or 2 rounds of this done. Walker and I are going to snake draft it. So we're going to pivot a little on Bam's question just to have some more fun with it and not pick the best 5 between us. We're going to snake draft this and see which team is better, and Nata can help commentate this. So I've actually, of course, I'm a huge nerd, so I took this as a challenge and made a spreadsheet.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I've got all the names of the players, and I figured how we would do this. There's no way to speculate how much these players are going to make. I think that would be a little bit tough to do in terms of drafting and figuring out what's going to be under 20 million. So we just take the previous AAV from Spotrac and use that as the money mark, and then figure out what our teams are going to be. What do you think?
So, yeah, the problem with this is that there's not many, though. So the only problem with it is that there are players that are clearly going to be making a lot more than what their previous contract was.
Correct.
But there's not a lot. There's not a lot.
No,
so
not really.
I think for the most part that this is a good process outside of maybe honestly, not even a handful of names, maybe like 3 names that I came across yesterday.
Yeah, Bruce Brown Jr., he's out. Malcolm Brogdon, he's out. Those guys made more than 20 million. So you cannot draft them. Brooke Lopez out, Clint Capella out. Miles Turner made just a little bit north of $20 million. So he's out. There are guys that are technically in, like Tim Hardaway Jr., 18 million, but you'd have to find some real diamonds in the rough to go along with
that
him.
one. Yeah.
It's a lot of Braxton Keys on the list, who's making 11,000, I believe, is what his listed salary was.
Yeah, there are a couple of zero. If you want to get some real
Yeah.
value, Jalen Hood-Schifino at $0.
And Bones, go get Bones Highland. Bones Highland, who disagreed with the way that Jokic played. That Bones Highland. Anyway,
That's a bold.
Yeah.
It's a bold call.
the guy that everybody loves playing with, except for Bones, as a rookie second-year player. No, I don't like the way that he plays. Anyways, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I'm set us up, Doug. How you want to do it?
Well, I will give you the first pick. I have my war room ready. I've actually kept a separate note that I have all the players that I want to take and the players that I'm going to react to if you take them. So, Walker, you make the first pick, and then Nata, you react.
Okay, so look, this is going to be one. I'm going to go after one of the guys. It's going to make a ton of money on their next contract.
No. What are you going to do?
So it's cheating, but if that's within the rules, then I'm here to win the game. Give me Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I knew that was going to be. It was number 1 on my big board. I knew you were going to take him.
Sure, you got to get it. You got to get him. $4.5 million. I actually with the Hornets having roughly, I don't know, is it like 20 million in cap space? They don't really have a lot. That's why it's a good question from our guy in the Sicko Brigade. I don't know if they're going to be able to really afford Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So, anyways, that's my first pick though at $4.5 million shooting guard.
I think everyone is projecting Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and I just wonder what he's going to look like without a Rudy Gobert, without a Jalen McDaniels. I just, that's my concern. What does he look like? Is he a more functional Josh Green? Where, that's my question with.
Stop saying Josh Green. Doug is going to punch the camera.
But it's my concern.
Why?
I don't there are people that like to project him to the Hornets, and I'm concerned. I do have concerns about him being the number 1 pick of this.
All right, so it doesn't sound like I'm doing a great job so far. Doug, let's see if you can make Nata happier.
Okay, so I was going to go with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but so I think because we're only drafting 5 players and we have to actually make a functioning team. My big board has a couple of other shooting guards lined up there, but I think I can skip that and move to another position to make sure that I can get who I want here. And I'm going to go with what might be also a value in free agency as well. This is less of a cheater one. And I'm going to go up here to the center position and snag Paul Reed, who I thought was a difference maker in the playoffs in a limited role for the Detroit Pistons. And I don't even think he needs to play center. I mean, I think you can do a little 4-5 combo with Paul Reed.
All right, so B-ball Paul I had as like a real safety option. So I'm actually really, really surprised that you went with Paul Reed first. It does mess up a couple of safety valves for me, but I like the pick. I didn't expect it to be this high, but I like the pick.
Well, it's only this high. It's not this high based on my big board. It's this high based on the fact that I think I can get who I want in the next round. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Nata, your thoughts on Paul Reed?
I do think that's a very fascinating pick. I do think that he's very interesting to me because him and Musa are the same size. And if Musa is going
We've
to
done
be,
a lot of Musa erasure on this show.
Yes,
I apologize.
we have.
Yeah, I
I
don't
apologize
like
to
it.
all the
Let's
fans of Musa. I apologize to Musa, who I don't think he was on the. We need to do the big board time machine segment with Musa Diabate because I think on the big boards he was rated in like the 50s. Like he was super low.
yeah, like I do think that I wonder like between him, like what Musa looks like with the summer and what he does. Like I like B-ball Paul. I wonder if he's redundant, but also I would love to see if he's redundant. Like this team needs.
It's not going to be redundant on my team.
No, like quite literally at this point, I would like to see multiple capable centers on this roster. It would be very, very nice.
All right, Doug, go ahead. You get the next pick.
Okay, so for my next pick, I am going to go to the top of my big board just to make sure that you don't steal this guy because I think this guy could also play with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and I'm going to take the guy who stood out for Cleveland in the playoffs. I'm going Ty Jerome for my shooting guard pick here. AAV $2.5 million. Again, he is going to make significantly more than that next season. But you can see the shooting guards make a lot of money. I mean, Bruce Brown Jr., 22, 18 for Tim Hardaway Jr., LeVert, 16, Luke Kennard, 14 of the UFAs, obviously, relative to the UFAs. So I'm going to go Ty Jerome with my second pick to play my shooting guard position.
Okay. I thought Ty Jerome was going to be next. So nice job getting him because I would have taken him had you not taken him.
Savvy drafting. I am Kevin. Wait, was the character in that NFL draft movie that was played by, now I've got Kevin Connor in my head. It's Kevin Costner. Was he smart in that movie? I didn't watch the movie.
No, not really.
I mean, that movie was just all sorts of bad. And
not Kevin Costner.
Look, you don't have to be smart is the point of that movie. You don't have to be smart and everything will work out for you in the long run. So that's the thing.
All right, one more pick, Walker.
All right, so my next pick, this is something I've been struggling with, whether I'm going to pull the trigger or not on a decent money player, but I really like him. I'm going to go Trey Jones next at $9.5 million. I'm making a big. This is a big boy. This is a big boy contract. So Trey Jones got hurt at the end of the season, missed the last 12 games. But go look at the run he went on with Chicago. Everybody was looking at Josh Giddey towards the end because of what he was doing at the very end.
It's a great
Trey
pick.
Jones went on a scorcher of a consecutive streak before he got injured.
Yeah.
Just 18, getting close to 20 every single time. He actually compliments LaMelo and Brandon Miller well while not being able to shoot all that well. I don't love that, but we're picking from under $20 million players, right? Trey Jones does get to the rack and finishes quite well at the rim. Defensively, wreaks havoc. Had a positive defensive EPM according to Duncan Threes. It's a lot of money for this exercise, but it's the price I'm willing to pay for a point guard in like a defensive backcourt wreaking havoc type of guy in Trey Jones and Nickeil Alexander-Walker in my backcourt.
I love this pick for you.
Yeah, he was insane at the end of the year for Chicago. He kept coming up on the the pivotfade.com is my box score app, and they do like who's hot and who's cold, and they do it over like 5 and 10 game samples. And Trey Jones kept popping up as one of the hottest players at the end of last season. And yeah, he was taking over 10 shots a game, in many of those games towards the end, and he was shooting over 60%. He was
it was crazy.
An absolute heater.
Yeah, it was I think there was a 5-game stretch where he was nuts, but you can even go further than that. So it's a lot of money in this exercise, but it's enough to where I can still work around the edges. Yeah,
and a guard that gets to the rack. Hello,
that's what I'm saying.
That's what the Hornets need.
That's what I'm saying.
Like quite literally, this may be the most savvy pick of this draft so far.
Yeah,
quite literally. This may be the most. I think he's the guy that fits the most. And I would honestly wonder if he even makes 9, if he makes his 8.5. Like, I do wonder if he's actually going to make more, considering all the crunching that's going to happen and all the roster shifting that's going to go on this summer.
Good picks. I'm proud of both of us. I like these picks.
We're starting to build, and we've got now I've got plenty of money left. You just really hammered your salary cap there. You've got $6 million left. I have $16 million left. So you'll have to tune in next week on Monday. We will complete the 2025 UFA draft, courtesy of Bam Bam of the Flying Big Paper Daddies. We really appreciate the question on the Sicko Satchel. Join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets. I can't wait to complete this draft. And then we'll talk about which of these players the Hornets should actually target in unrestricted free agency.
All right, Nata. Thanks, man. We appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Come on. I almost want to come back Monday just to judge all of this. I may just text you guys.
Dude, the door is always open, my friend. You can do it.
All right, maybe we do it.
Let me see. Let me see my schedule.
Here we go. Oh, see, that was one of those perfect. Like, hey, I'd love to be part of it. Okay, great. Oh, actually, I got to check my, big.
I know. I really do though.
Perfect.
Because again, I was supposed to be here. I was supposed to be here yesterday, and I had to text you guys at the last minute. So you already know what my schedule is. Don't.
That was so Hollywood of you. You're so Hollywood.
Oh,
now.
Shut up,
dude.
I'm not the one on a national show. I'm not the one.
So we should go. We should totally go to the low bar and get some drinks. Oh yeah, come on, let's do it. That time doesn't work for me. That time doesn't. I don't know. We'll see if Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander work you too hard. Ion College Basketball Podcast. Nata is the producer of said podcast. Go check it out. Go check out Locked On NBA and everyhornetsboxscore.com with Doug Branson, and then check out Wes and Walker with me, Walker Mail, every weekday on Sports Radio 92.7 WFNZ from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you Monday and maybe not. I don't know, because he's Hollywood.